Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mamluks. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts Sheikh Amir Saeed and Mort, the host of Mazibaz. Assalamu alaikum everyone. How you guys doing?
Alhamdulillah,
Salam
man.
alaikum.
What's going on, Buffalo Soldier?
Buffalo Soldier. Nothing, doing all right. Hey, I'm trying to grab the link. I don't know why my subscription on YouTube isn't popping up, but we are live. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
Um,
Wonderful. If there's anyone who's joining in the chat, make sure you let us know if there's any problems
well,
with the recording.
yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can grab it from my phone. Yeah, we're gonna be having to do this every time we go live. Hold on. I'm trying to get the link. I don't know why.
All right.
Did you change the? Oops. Hold on. Okay, go ahead. I'll figure this out.
So make sure you like and subscribe and comment on the show if you have any thoughts after the show so that we could address them. Sheikh,
Sheikh.
how you doing?
Alhamdulillah, Sheikh. How you doing, bro?
Are you preparing for the inevitable? The coronavirus outbreak?
Man, I don't think people realize the magnitude of what when it was first discovered. I don't think they realized it was going to be like this.
I don't think so either. I think...
By the way, yesterday I think was the first death in Illinois.
Really?
Or was it another person retracted? The first death in the United States occurred, let me just be safe, from the coronavirus. And there was another case that was found in Cook County. I got a news alert yesterday.
You know, I mean, from whatever reading I've done from the experts and on my own, it seems like they can't stop this thing.
No.
But it's not that the actual damage from the virus is going to be... I mean, I guess when you compare it to billions of people, it's going to be a lot of people. It's going to be like maybe 30 to 40 million people who end up dying from it. But
oh, do you think the numbers are that high?
well, it's 3% fatality, 2 to 3% fatality rate, right? Now, if you consider that compared to what's the population of Earth, 8 billion people,
possibly. Yeah.
so I think 20 to 30 million people. It's still not as bad as the Spanish influenza, which happened in a long time
19th
ago.
century.
Do you guys know how accurate Mort?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Am I the only one not freaking out about this COVID-19 thing? Everyone's freaking out. Like, oh my God, we gotta do this.
No, Morty, it's not the actual virus that you should freak out about. It's the actual fear that's the virus is causing. It's going to cause a lot of, effects on the economy. It's
It already
the
has
stock
affected.
market.
Yeah. Amazon was talking about that. And
Hey, bro, it just
Microsoft's
makes more
already...
money for the capitalist. I mean, I'm just saying, if you're smart, you can just make more. I take an opportunity. I mean, markets fluctuate all the time, dude. I mean,
Make more medical
when
masks.
they have MERS, they have, the Ebola outbreak, they had, so many things like this that happen in the world, right? The war pings off, or North Korea going to do something, or is Donald Trump going to win the election? All these things affect the markets and have economic implications, right? My thing is this, though. I think it depends on the country that you're in and the type of preventative measures they have in place and how they can effectively deal with the virus. Let's take a case study, for example. Someone just mentioned in China, the death toll among the COVID-19 virus people who have it is 3%. But then when you turn over to Iran, the death toll percentage jumps up to 10%. Yeah. Why is there a difference? Is it because the COVID virus in Iran is more potent, or it's more deadly? No, it has to deal with the infrastructure, how they're dealing with it, the way are people informed, are they able to effectively communicate to people what they should and shouldn't be doing? Are there hospitals? Are there proper sanitary techniques? All of that influences the way the virus will progress in a nation. And I think largely, for the most part, like places in the Western world, we're pretty clean compared to other places in the world, right? And we have a pretty good system as far as this, the CDC and other organizations like that help to inform the public and keep them informed on what they should and shouldn't be doing. And I think that will drastically reduce the way that the virus will spread in these countries. So I'm not really too worried about that.
You know what, Harvard, did you see that Harvard study? I don't know if anyone actually looked
I
at
saw
it
that.
critically because it was on Yahoo News, and nobody uses Yahoo anymore.
Yeah, but
That
keep
even
in mind, even that
existed
study is
anymore.
not saying that people are going to die from that.
Yeah,
What
it's
they're
saying
saying
50
is
to
that
70 people are gonna
it's
be affected by
the
it.
likelihood of you being infected, carrying this disease or virus, I'm sorry, I should say, is going to be like 70% or something. But that would be likened to the for example, herpes simplex type 1. A lot of people have herpes, they don't know, but I mean, I'm not talking about genital herpes, I mean like the one of the cold sores, right? Like many kids get, you don't know, 1 in 4 people have it in the world. I mean, you walk around, but it's dormant for the most part, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of, but we know in certain seasons, like if you get sick or stressed, that herpes virus can, it can incubate whatever. You can have viral shedding, and it comes out, manifest itself. But likewise, that'll be what COVID might be. But the thing is that now we're basically on the brink of having a vaccination for it. I mean, people think that, oh my God, how can they be so quick in finding it? It's not that. We've been studying the coronavirus for a long time. It's been for since the 1960s. It's a variation of the SARS virus, right? I mean, but the novel coronavirus is something what we have today now, what we're talking about. But it's very similar to the coronavirus. And so essentially that has already been in the works. So coming up with the solution now is pretty much, I mean, it's around the bend.
You know who shouldn't get any type of medications related to this? The anti-vaxxers. Those are the first people who need to go.
Okay? Yeah, bye. See you later.
Like you guys,
bye.
You guys don't
nice
want
knowing you.
You guys don't want any of this stuff. You're always, skeptical about modern medicine. I'm sure there are, valid concerns about the way medicine's practiced these days, but I think the anti-vaxxers should be the first to go.
Yeah, there might, who knows, there might be a need for some kind of purge in the world. Who knows? Maybe there's too many dumb people. I don't know. Maybe this is nature's way of saying, hey, get the dumb people off the earth. You know what I mean? I don't know. But the thing is,
course pretty fast.
No, I mean, you never know. I mean, you never know. I mean, there are people.
Some seriousness to that statement. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, hey.
Yeah.
I'm Mort.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say things.
Yeah.
Deal with it,
bro. But
anyways, the point is that I think the biggest thing, all jokes aside, is that the worst thing you can do in a time like this is have mass hysteria.
Yeah.
That is the absolute worst thing you can do, because you drive prices up. For example, I guess these masks can do nothing for you. These cotton masks, except maybe these N90 masks that have the respirators. They're probably the only ones that are effective. Yeah. But these cotton masks that you find these tourists walking around with, they do absolutely nothing for the coronavirus, because it's a nanovirus. It'll penetrate that. But masks are all sold out because idiots think they're going to defend themselves from the virus.
They're $60 a mask.
It doesn't have any type of effect. I mean, it can't even cut the possibility
it might defend people who are sneezing and coughing in that way. Hey, but if you're,
is it wrong to sell the masks for a high profit? Because I have some masks that I found. Sheikh, can you comment on this matter? In a situation like this where there's a mass hysteria, public outcry, is it permissible for a believer to?
Did you have to say it in an accent like a believer?
Is it permissible for a believer to take advantage of the market fluctuations that are surrounding
market fluctuations? What are you doing, you idiot?
That are happening during a hysteria. That are happening during.
If you know that it's not going to have any effectiveness, and you're selling it at a price because you think that people are going to buy because they're stupid, obviously that's not Islamic, right?
It's not because they're stupid. It's just because that's what the market
supply and demand.
It's
right now
on Amazon.
Demand
on Amazon, those masks are about $60.
People are capitalizing. Well, in reality, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
But in reality, people are capitalizing on it because they think people are stupid.
But forget about stupidity or not. This is taking advantage of a situation in the market where there's a lot of people who are scared.
I understand that.
And I have plenty of masks at my house where they're just collecting dust. They're not doing anything. And instead of
why do you have masks? Why do you have extra masks?
I don't know. I opened up a closet and I'm like, oh my God, I got all these masks that I could sell.
Idiot.
And someone was talking about them at work. They were like, "Hey, these masks are $60 on eBay."
I don't know. I mean, there's a principle of supply and demand, right?
I want to know why
those filtered masks, man, that protect you from
are you talking about the ones with the things on the sides for the air? And
like the Bane mask, dude. On the side.
No. I'm not talking about the Bane mask. I'm talking about even cheaper than that, dude. The ones that you see people walking around with in China.
The regular cotton, 2-ply cotton masks is all they are.
Yeah, I found a few of those.
So wait, a box of those are being sold for $60?
I'm thinking about making some bank.
I don't know, dude. I don't like that idea at all. But anyways,
Well, listen, but
dude.
isn't it supply and demand? Meaning, if people are willing to pay that because the competitors are charging the same price because they don't have enough, right? I mean, so many people want it. It's a valuable item. It's a commodity, right? So it's not really that you're charging one person more and the other less. It's just that everyone has the same. This is the going rate of an object now because it's so much in demand.
I understand that, but I'm saying, look at the intention. If you're selling it because that's what you do, you sell medical supplies.
No, I'm talking about
I
me,
understand.
bro. Yeah,
I know. I'm just saying, if you're selling medical supplies and the prices have changed, I get that, right? But if you're like, I'm going to get into this now because I know fools are going to buy it. I know you don't like me saying stupid and fools, but that's the reason why.
Yeah.
That if someone's going to jump in it now,
yeah,
like, hey man, I know it's not effective, but I'm going to do it anyway because I got to make money off these people.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You got to make a decision there, bro.
But isn't everything for profit? I mean, wouldn't you get into the business of selling DME or medical equipment in the first place for profit? I mean, the objective is the same.
That's because you know it's look, you know it's effective. You know people need it, right? But this thing, you know that people are going to buy it. You know other people are going to sell it anyway. You just want to make money off of people's stupidity. That's what it is.
Yeah, but I don't think the person who's selling the mask, who got into it 10 years ago, is really caring how effective it is today. If someone's going to buy it, they're going to buy it. He's not caring about it.
Morty, he made the distinction between a supplier and just a guy like me who found some masks.
But what I'm saying is I don't see the difference.
That are probably 10 years old. That are 10 years old.
People don't care.
No, but Sim, what I'm saying is I don't see it. He's trying to make a moral separation here, and I don't see the moral separation. You think the supplier who's been doing it for 10 years cares about the health of the public? No, he cares about profits, just like you do, right? It just so happened that he got into it before because that was his main business. But how do I have many side businesses? Oh, well, why should he make all the money just because he got lucky in a time like this?
I think you're crossing a few wires here, but the reason being is...
He just called you retarded.
No, it's crossing wires.
That's an
offensive
my
word. Brain, Sheikh Hammer.
That's an offensive word, bro.
You offended Morty.
Hey, you can't say that word anymore, Sim. You should apologize to the public. That's a banned word now.
Yeah. Oh, that's what he just called you.
But guys,
you get trigger people.
Look, I want to bring some seriousness into this, bro. I'm telling you this, man. I know some people don't like to say that this is a punishment from Allah, and it's we can't judge. We don't know the reason. We know everything happens with the permission of Allah. But when I saw this thing, and I'm not a person of wisdom by any means, I really mean that, especially politically. I come to you guys for political stuff. But the way I see that just the fear is growing and all these things that are happening in the world, like if you go down the list of everything that you could think of that's pretty chaotic in this world, and you throw coronavirus in there, you throw, innocent civilians being killed, you throw MBS in there, you throw, Egypt in there, you throw,
India,
India, obviously, Kashmir, India, you throw Rohingya in there, you throw Uyghurs in there. If you look at that entire list, I made this entire list.
Yeah.
And when you look at it from a bird's eye view, you think that these people that are doing this, they think that nothing can happen to them.
Yeah.
They think they would never assume that something so petty would affect them, but it's affecting the whole entire world now.
Yeah.
It's affecting the economy. So, maybe we can't say it's a direct punishment, right? But we know that it's a means of showing people one of the signs of Allah. That's for sure. I don't care what people say. The panic, even that's caused. Let's say it's not even something to be panicked about, right, more? But it is causing panic, and people are thinking twice. And people are... What panic does to people, it makes them reflect on the bad that they did.
Yes, but it also, I think, there's a thing that happens when we are tried, and we have, whether Corona is a punishment or a trial, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it shows your character, right? Yeah. It shows the character of each and every one of us, and how we end as a society as a whole, and how we deal with this trial, this misfortune that's befallen on various countries around the world.
Yeah,
whether we exploit it, whether we try to help educate people, and so. We have fun with about talking about selling masks and stuff, which of course we're just joking, but
Mort's not joking. But anyways, keep going. Mort's a capitalist. We don't care. He's a cutthroat.
I'm ordering them right now. I got my Chinese Connect. Alibaba.com.
Don't order them from China, bro. Don't order them from China. Anyways,
hey, bro.
So anyway, Sam, so you were saying, so we were joking around about it.
No, we were talking about whether it's Corona or any trial that you're having in your life.
Yeah.
Everything is demonstrating your character through this trial.
Yeah.
Whether it's a trial or a punishment.
Yeah.
You are your baseline is being tested, like how you behave yourself, how you carry yourself throughout this whole process.
Yeah, and like when I heard that the outbreak was in China, bro, I don't think that was just something that just happened.
Yeah.
Right? I realized as soon as that outbreak happened and people were panicking, and I saw these videos online of cities being emptied in the Wuhan province and no more people on the street, and I directly saw that as something so small. If people are being oppressive in a land, Allah can change the landscape in a way that they would never expect where it came from.
Without a shadow of doubt, and what you just said right now is politically incorrect. You're not allowed to say that these people definitely...
These people what?
These people in China.
Oh, I said these people in China?
No, I'm saying the Chinese people.
Uh-huh. What was offensive about that?
No, I'm saying that a lot of people will say that you can't blame the Chinese people for being affected by the coronavirus because of their atrocities towards the Uyghur Muslims.
Yeah,
right.
I completely disagree with that, but anyways,
yeah. So
even the pious.
Well, hold on. Let's explore that for a moment. We know that from the story of Nabi Saleh that
Wait, what'd you say?
Saleh.
No, what did he say
Saleh.
before that? He said Nabi Saleh. Oh, okay. I was like, what do you say? I'm sorry, I didn't catch the accent. Sorry. Can you say it again one more time?
Nabi Saleh.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
No, I didn't know
right.
what you said. Sorry.
Okay, sir. Anyway, sir.
So weird.
No, but people were destroyed, right, for just a few actions of their leaders.
Yeah.
Because they were generally compliant in terms of them being silent in the matter.
Yeah. Not
So
only that, but yeah, sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
even the camel that was killed. Whose prophet was that?
He's talking about Saleh.
Yeah, Saleh. Yeah. So the thing is that what I'm saying though is that that even though the people, one could argue they had nothing to do with what was being challenged and on the camel and all of that, but they put their faith in their leaders and they did not question their motives, and they were very compliant in what they were doing.
Can you give a quick synopsis for anyone who doesn't know
Let's let the Sheikh do this.
No. So keep going.
No, go ahead.
Because
I don't remember the whole story.
Stop being humble.
I have a train of thought right now. I swear I'm going to.
Okay, let me.
No, but I need you to do it because I really don't remember the whole story.
There was a camel that wasn't supposed to be killed, and
and then they said if you wanted to kill it, the command was to leave it alone, and if you did it, Allah would send his wrath down. The people, and out of arrogance, they decided to kill the camel. All the 7 of them together, I think, got together, and they all each, I think, they brought the camel down the front legs, and then they all killed the she camel, and they killed it. And I think Allah then ordered Nabi Saleh to turn around and not look back at this. But the point is, Allah destroyed them completely, right? It sent a wind, right, that went through all of them and destroyed them completely. Madain Saleh is actually in Saudi Arabia, I think. Yeah, or in Yemen, Saudi Arabia, yeah. But anyway, the point being is that they were openly arrogant towards a command that Allah had told them not, a specific command where Allah said, do not do this and do not challenge me. Right, and they said, if you are truly a prophet, they were trying to say that we don't believe you're a prophet no matter what. So we disrespect you so much that we're gonna double down on our arrogance against you, and we're actually in fact gonna kill the camel, right? Because you can't do anything. You're just crazy, right? And so at that moment when they displayed that arrogance, Allah then told the prophet to turn his back and not to look back at what the adhab that was coming. Even though, and the reason why it's significant is because he actually cared for those people. He didn't want to see them be destroyed, but Allah had to tell him that you're not, basically turning your back is also symbolic that you're not part of them anymore. Like you must disavow from them. So as he turns back, Allah sends to the malaika, the adhab that destroys them completely. But the point being is that it only took, I think it was 7 of these men, the leaders among them, to be disobedient and to be arrogant enough to challenge the Prophet.
Yeah, they're kind of like the super delegates.
No, but it's not even that.
They're super exactly.
Delegates.
No, but they're kind of like the super delegates, exactly. And the thing is that because of their actions, the other people who trusted them and did not question them suffer. They also suffered the same fate, meaning that they were considered to be one group.
So the reason why, look, I almost forgot while you were saying it. I remember I was going to say this, so I didn't want to explain it. So check this out. You're mentioning one step or one scenario of people being complicit because they were silent, right? let's go even farther back and make a bold statement and say that even if they were complicit, even if they disliked what the people are doing, and they spoke up against the oppression that was happening, they can still be engulfed by something. Look at the hadith that was asked Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what if an adhab comes on the people and there's pious amongst us? Right? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, well, then they're just going to be resurrected on their actions. Meaning that there's a connotation where they actually spoke up against this also. But they can be engulfed with the adhab because of the adhab. That's the nature of an adhab. It's indiscriminate because if Allah wants it to be, it can be. So the people who were taken, but they were good people from amongst them, they can also be resurrected, but they'll be resurrected, but they were good people. But
the way I look at that is that this is also a rahmah for the believer, that Allah gives him a good ending, meaning that he died upon his truth, that he didn't fall for what they were doing, and Allah will raise him. So here's the thing. Adhab doesn't take away individual accountability. It doesn't override the ayah. La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Right? Everyone. There's still going to be hisab. Right? And that's why we have to do muhasabah. Like the thing is that. So I don't think people always think that
you don't want to do muhasabah. That's an argument. That's for debate.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about? Did you learn a new word today?
No,
what's the word of the day for sim? What are you trying to say, buddy? We'll help you out.
I think I meant muhabala. Sorry.
Muhabala? Is that even a thing?
Muhabala?
No, that's a muhabala. It's a debate when you...
Oh, mubahala.
No, he's talking about muhabala. He's an Urdu. He's talking about how to say muhabala.
It's muhabala. So you just said some Arabic stuff.
Said
I said muhasabah, meaning holding yourself accountable.
You take account of what you did.
Hasib, from hasib, right?
Okay.
Anyways.
Hisab. I think I'm all right now. Let's go ahead.
No. So check this out. Okay. So let me say this. So the reason why I mentioned this is, you said something to the extent of people saying that other people are not going to be affected by something. No, we believe as Muslims, whether they were good people or bad people, they can be engulfed in an adhab too. That doesn't matter. We think just because someone did bad, then that's the only way that they can be engulfed by Allah's adhab. That's a very false way of thinking.
Yeah.
So look, the actions that we do, everyone gets affected by that in this world and in the ghaib. Right? People, and that's why people, they didn't like if you read, and I brought this up at least in 3 different episodes of, and there's many other scholars too. Imam al-Ghazali spoke on this, but Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah's book Ad-Da' wa Dawa, the spiritual disease and its cure. Half of the book is the sins that we do and how that affects our environment as people. The rainwater and pious people are living amongst them, and all types of people are living. So this whole thing about the coronavirus, now people say, oh, how can it be an adhab? Well, people aren't complicit. Dude, whoever said that people have to be complicit in it for the adhab to touch them?
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
That doesn't matter whatsoever. And whoever said, like Mort said, that's a great point, that if you're being touched by the adhab, how do you know that's not a blessing for you?
That's true. It could be a way to purify your sins.
It could be take you out of this world so you can now leave this place where you were miserable in.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. And your grave is a portion of
I think a general rule is that if Allah is punishing you in this life, and you're a mu'min, you're a Muslim, you believe in La ilaha illallah, right? And He's punishing you in this life, that's always better than the punishment of the next life.
Yeah.
If He's purifying you here, rather than the next life, that's a rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And the word doesn't even have to be punishment. It's just a trial. It's a test.
It's a purification. It's your purification. Isn't that where the word, even like the fitna, came from, right? Meaning that it's when they used to forge the iron or metal, gold, and they would purify it. Yeah,
the process of heating up gold so the impurities fall off, so it becomes pure.
Right, it would just it's just smelting it, and so it got so hot that only the gold would remain, and everything else would settle down. Yes. Absolutely. So this is where the idea is. But right, so I think in that sense that if there is a punishment, no Muslim should be in any confusion that if there are righteous people or even who may be non-Muslims who Islam never reached them, maybe whatever happened, Allah will judge them accordingly to what they believe and how they've reacted. Because there are many good people, I'm sure, in China or other places who are adamantly against what the government regimes may be doing, or even individuals may be doing towards Muslims,
Yep.
right? So I don't think that we should look at this or any kind of adhab as a punishment based on an individual, but rather a collection of individuals have done something, or there's been something which angered Allah in terms of like in a communal sense, not
of
in
course.
an individual.
And all we're saying is this, dude. All we're saying is, do we know for sure it's a punishment? No, we don't. Do we know that it happens with permission of Allah? Of course it does. Now, is there a coincidence that there happens to be lots of oppression of Muslim and wiping out of an entire nation and reculturing the people who say La ilaha Muhammad Rasulullah? Dude, they have people, man, and that's why, man, people don't like when you do dua and you curse people, certain types of people.
Yeah.
But dude, your heart can't do anything else. Like who does that? Like there's some type of code we have as human beings that you have these men in jail, and you have Muslim women, Muslim sisters who they have, you know, men that are non-Muslims living with them just to make them to wipe out their Islam and their culture.
Yeah.
Right? There's some dude living with some other guy's wife now who's not even Muslim. They're strangers, but the government assigns you to that woman.
Yeah.
Look, do you think Allah's going to be happy with that type of action with the people who say La ilaha illallah Rasulullah? Hell no, dude.
Oh.
You think that's going to be... And no one's coming to their aid and rescue.
Forget
Right?
about like advocating for the Uyghurs or using your platforms and your, you know, whatever audience you've built to advocate towards bringing awareness for the Uyghur. No, they go out of the way and say, no, hang on. It's more important to bring up the idea that this is not a punishment on the...
That's what angers me, bro. That's what angers me.
It blows my mind. Like, how could you not use your platform, your audience, your hundreds of thousands of followers, and there were tens of thousands. I don't care who you are out there. I'm just saying you utilizing your platform to admonish Muslims, saying, hey,
How dare you?
hang on, you can't be racist, okay?
Shame on you, man.
Shame on you. Like, come on, get out of here,
No,
man.
I'm saying shame on you to those people who have that platform.
No, I know.
Well, all I
don't-
know is that if this is a punishment hitting China from Allah Azza wa Jal, then I hope it hits India next. That's all I say.
And
Yeah, I'm gonna be
you know
real
why
with
you're
it.
saying that, Mort? You know why you're saying that? Because no one's doing anything about it.
Yeah,
Nothing-
I
no
mean,
one
look,
does anything.
No, not only that. If look, I understand something. If it is adab, it comes to people who are truly evil, like their souls are evil, right? There are different types of souls the Quran mentioned, and these are evil souls. People that have no goodness in them, meaning that it's impossible for them to have any kind of rahmah or mercy.
Yep.
They will never be at ease, right? And the reality is that there are certain individuals like this who not only are they evil themselves, but they encourage this fawahish among other people.
Now-
They actually give them reasons.
And there's those shayateen from the ins, from the human beings also.
Guys-
that even shaitan sees this and he gets like, whoa, these people are much more than I would ever do.
Now, we say this with full knowledge. Okay, now I know there's some smart Alex listening. Like, these morons are.
Good,
Well,
man.
the coronavirus is going to eventually spread all around the world. What are they saying? The whole world is getting a punishment? Yeah, it could very well be that the entire world is experiencing a
Why?
punishment
Yeah.
as well.
Why wouldn't? Who cares if it does?
So-
That's Allah's business, man.
So
No, but what I'm saying is, let's talk about that, because I think from a maybe a non-religious perspective, someone listening will say, "Oh, what dumb religious people talking about a coronavirus? You know, it's just science. It's gonna get around everywhere." Yes, but the reality is that if we look at the world in general, pretty much every single country in the world has some issue with their arrogance towards their creator. I don't care where you look in the world today. That's what we as believers believe, right? They have literally allowed every kind of evil action that, if you look in the traditional scriptures of the past, God has destroyed nations for even one of those of these things that are around today, whether it be sodomy, whether it be cheating in business, whether it be lying and deceiving, whether it be rejecting messengers, whatever it may be. All of these collective evil actions are present in majority of nations today.
Oh, yeah.
So would it be odd that God would try to send a wake-up call? And look, people who are non-religious don't have to believe this, but look, as religious people, we believe that a time of an ending is coming very near, and this could be a sign that Allah is waking up people for something that is coming. Like, hey, your lives are fragile. It's a small little nanoparticle can destroy your entire life. You linger on life with this something so minute that God has created.
I'm so glad you
can't
brought
see
that up.
with the naked eye.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because it could very well be that this coronavirus turns out to be very benign or very harmless in terms of compared to other viruses out there, but the fear and hysteria surrounding it causes more damage than the actual virus itself.
Subhanallah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy? Look at the parallel here. The coronavirus is unseen to the eye.
Yeah.
It's almost intangible for them. One could say, yeah, you can get it in a microscope, but to the average person, it's almost intangible. They can't see it. They can't feel. They can't do anything. They can only feel the effect of it, right? But what I'm saying is, shouldn't that relationship also be with the one who created you? You cannot see him. You can't do anything, but yet you fear something small particle.
Yep. Yeah.
That small thing. But you don't fear the one that actually created that small particle from his might.
You said something that it can be a wake-up call. Like, even if we take a step before that, it can be that Allah just wants to replace a people with another people that'll do better. It can be that too.
Yeah.
God knows. I know. Allah,
he can do
right.
with us whatever He wants, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right?
So
and you know what? I think part of being a Muslim is being completely satisfied with his qadr.
Of course.
Whatever he does, he's just in his decision.
Yeah.
And there should be no questioning of that. There should be full yaqeen in that. Whatever Allah does, he's just in it. And that's why the dua of Sayyidina Yunus is important. People don't realize that, right? Even he may not have thought what he did was wrong. He may not have understood what he did was wrong. But the idea of La ilaha illa anta subhanak inni kuntu min al-zalimin.
Yeah.
Like that first he praises his creator because he's deserving of it. And then he says, you know what, I wronged myself. Even though he doesn't go to even a specific sin. He just says, I oppressed myself. Not even wrong, I oppressed myself. Why? Because when you disobey Allah, you're not oppressing God. You're not taking anything from his might. Right? You're not taking it away from him. You're putting the
blame on yourself too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, it's
you're not
yourself.
blaming anybody else except for yourself, man.
And that's the reality. So whatever affects us, if it is a punishment on us, if it is a blessing, if it's a ni'mah, like if it's something that comes to us as a rahmah from Allah, we accept it. I mean, it's all from our own doing.
Yeah,
we can't. It's because of what you deserve. It's not anything less than that.
Yeah, man.
Just keep that in mind.
Now, what should you do if you're planning on courting a girl from Wuhan, China? Should you do like? Is that
planning on what?
Like if you were trying to marry
courting, sir. That means you're trying to marry someone. I know you grew up in Egypt.
I didn't even know he said courting.
Like, does that fall out of the bounds of like istikhara and things like that? Like, there's just some things you can't make istikhara about. For those who don't know what istikhara is, it's a decision making dua or supplication, not supplement. That you make in order to...
You can use it like a supplement. But anyways.
To make a decision on an important matter. So, one of my friends was having questions about istikhara and stuff, and he was saying, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about marrying this girl from Wuhan, and sometimes my emotions fluctuate.
How do you say Wuhan like Wu-Tang?
I'm just using Wuhan as a example.
Wuhan?
I don't
like, why do you do that?
I want to protect the identity of the innocent and all that, so I'm changing some of the facts around the story. And I want to
just changing his accent now too.
So
he becomes Middle Eastern when he's talking about Islamic stuff. I love it.
I noticed that the accent starts changing.
Yeah, you have to talk to people on their level, so that they understand.
Oh, mashallah. So all people who are Muslims and religious are Arab speakers, right?
I could go really full out and just go,
what a race! What dude? Then, so all Arabs go. Every time I see what are you trying to say?
I'm just saying on TV. Every time I watch them, there's always. It goes for a long time, dude. I don't do that much, okay? I'm saying I don't do that, okay?
So all Arabs go.
I just usually, whatever. I mean, they're speaking their native language and they're doing. I'm like, well, come on, dude.
It's like though. I mean, it's like in the English language.
Bro, I'm just talking about some of the uncles you see on the TV. Some of the amus.
They
take a long time to spit out the words.
The amus on TV, huh?
My son,
the amos.
Amuj. My son, he calls orange amuj, and you sound exactly like him. and he's 2 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm not making
So
fun
listen,
of them, but
so back.
kinda
So
am.
let me bring up a topic because Sim obviously can't be serious enough to talk
No.
talk about a topic.
I was talking
yeah,
about
whatever, douche.
No,
Listen,
I was talking
okay,
about one of my friends.
Whatever, dude.
They wanted me to Sheikh Amr to answer this question about istikhara. How?
Yeah, so Sheikh Amr, how does istikhara work? And what? First of all, and when can a person do it? Why is it used? And how does it work?
Look,
Let's do that.
Dude, check this out, right? Before even doing istikhara, there has to be a few things. You have to make the clearance with a few things here. The first is that you have to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala properly. It's simple. People, we can't overcomplicate it. You have to understand the relationship between you and Allah. Number one, Allah doesn't owe you anything. Allah doesn't owe you anything. Number two is that if you make istikhara and you feel a certain way, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be good. Allah doesn't owe you anything. You shouldn't expect something for sure. Something's going to happen. And even if something happens in your favor, you have to remember that everything can vanish instantly, right?
Yeah.
It's not a lasting forever. I'll tell you what I mean by that, right? So the first thing is very, very basic. The word istikhara, yastakhiru, the present is yastakhiru, with the kha, ya, ra at the end, right? So in the Arabic language, just a brief little thing, if you add an alif sin ta to an action, a verb, or a noun, the alif sin ta is prefixed to a word or a verb, which means you're seeking something. Seeking what? Khair. Right? That's why istikhara, yastakhiru, the kha, ya, ra comes from khair. So what are you doing? You're seeking khair from Allah. That's what istikhara means, right? Istikhara with the ta at the end makes it into a noun. That's it. Just think about it that way. I don't overcomplicate it. So that means what? You're seeking khair from Allah. That has to be understood. But again, Allah doesn't have to do anything. It's with the permission of Allah. And if He wants to, He does whatever He wants for you. We don't draw any other conclusions. We just do our best for something to come about. The next thing is, Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu an, he said that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to teach us istikhara like he was teaching us the Quran.
Wow.
Like it would be a constant thing, reminder, istikhara. It's called the lost sunnah, because it's only practiced in situations sometimes that we already have our mind made up. Like sometimes it's just for marriage, right? There's a whole bunch of things we can talk about. I'm just going to try to clear some misconceptions and the how-to, right?
Yeah.
So then he said, if we were confused between two things, right? But it doesn't only mean two things. You do istikhara for a decision that I want to do, and is this good for me? You may not have a second scenario either. But it's just usually if you're confused between two things, it helps you decide one thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and that decision there may be some personal inclination to one thing, so you may gravitate to it and think that it's actually your istikhara too. Which means what? You have to have a relationship with Allah. Means you have to have tawakkul in Allah, and whatever you decide, whatever the repercussions and ramifications are, you're still going to be patient.
But sometimes some decisions aren't just khair, they're kind of meh. And how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let you know, like, you know what? There's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad, but overall there might be a little bit of positive in your decision.
I think sometimes you overthink it, and that overthinking can be good sometimes. But the thing is that, look, when we pray our salat, can you guarantee your salah was counted? Can you guarantee anything that we're doing in Islam is counted?
Absolutely not.
Look, put it this way. The reason why we say astaghfirullah, 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 Allahumma tassalam, minka salam after our prayers is because maybe we weren't concentrating properly, we were thinking about too many things. Maybe our prayer didn't count. Maybe we did something haram we didn't realize. Maybe we didn't even have wudu, right? So we're asking Allah for forgiveness for our shortcomings in the prayer. But what if that istighfar you're doing is not even going to be accepted also afterwards? That's a possibility too, right?
That's true.
Which means what? That none of us are going to Jannah except with the rahmah of Allah. We don't know any of the actions that we're doing. Why? That's what Rasulullah told us to constantly, throughout the day, say, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika. Renew your iman all the time, because we don't even know what we're doing with our iman sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to constantly be renewing. Why am I saying this? That relationship with Allah has to exist if you want to understand istikhara and the result of it happening.
Okay,
right?
Can you, as a backup plan, use like casting lots if you don't know, like, Because we don't know if the istikhara is...
What are you talking
I thought you were
about?
going to talk about cast iron pots,
Look,
but
how about this,
in the
dude?
past,
The
they used to
very
cast-
fact that you asked that question means you check your own iman, brother.
Okay, so...
anyways, no, so check
I was
this out.
just
Okay.
sure.
No, but
Let me
look,
make some
here's the thing, though. No, here's the thing. Just one thing. Amr, so what you're saying is essentially this, that you have to, I think there has to be a certain yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
Yes.
before you make istikhara. Otherwise,
Yes. And I'll tell you why. Can I tell you why?
sure.
Oh, sorry. Were you done? My bad.
Tell me. No, tell me why.
Because look, I'll give you an example. Right? And me and my wife were just discussing this today. SubhanAllah. Some people, they do istikhara, they get married, and they end up divorced in 2 months. Oh, but I did istikhara. Some people, they do istikhara for something. Oh, I did istikhara for this car, and now it's damaged, and now I'm like $10 negative, $10,000 negative in my account. Because I got to do all these repairs, insurance, whatever the case is, right?
Yeah.
So how do we make sense of that? If you don't have a relationship with Allah and tawakkul on Allah, you're going to say, oh, I did istikhara and it still didn't work? Wait, what do you mean work?
Nah.
What is work? Like something had Allah owes you now this because you did istikhara?
As if Allah
and
subhanahu wa
that
ta'ala
you knew the
owes
wisdom
you an answer, or...
and you think that you know what Allah wanted? Like what type of audacity do we have? Like you did istikhara, you got a feeling? How do you know that was a personal inclination?
Yeah.
Some people, we do istikhara when we have our mind made up on some things, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we do istikhara is that we know what we actually want and we're okay if it happens. Some people don't want to do istikhara. There's another thing. Oh, but what if my mind changes the thing that I actually want, though? Well, then you have to check your relationship with Allah because you're trusting Allah's only going to do what He wants for you, and whatever is Allah's decree, you have to be satisfied with it. So some people are like, oh, but what if I do istikhara and it doesn't come out the way I want it to? Well, then now you have to back up a little bit and think about your relationship with Allah before you do istikhara.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be
There's one thing I want to ask you something. So also don't forget, when you're making the istikhara, you're asking for Allah to give you guidance.
Yeah.
Right? And that guidance may come in the form of doors opening and doors closing. And it may be that some doors maybe will open in the way that you think it will open.
Yeah.
For a period of time, and then it needs to shut on you, and then you go a different path.
Yeah.
But that's just the way that it's working, right?
Yeah.
You're not asking for Allah to change someone's mind or to. This is not what's happening. You're asking that that whatever comes to you is goodness.
Yes. Of course.
However that comes to you, whether it's
and let me add
whether
that,
you like it or you do.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. Whether you like
No,
it
I'm
or
saying
you-
whether you like it or you don't like it is irrelevant. Because if you're asking for good, think about this. What is the reason why you're approaching Allah in the first place? Because at the core of it, you don't know yourself what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, of course.
So you're trusting Allah to give you what's right.
Yeah.
And
Right?
even-
Yeah.
and
So
more-
I think if you approach it that way, it makes understanding what istikhara is supposed to do. And the other thing is, real quickly, is talk about this too. Some people think that when you pray istikhara, that you're just going to get a dream. And like a dream's going to fix everything. And you're going to know what to do. It's going to be like that clear to you. And in my experience, many times istikhara doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It really,
Right.
it can. I'm not saying I'm not ruling it out, but more than likely enough for me, what happens is a certain path becomes easier or more difficult for me.
And that itself is a favor. Some people don't even get that. They just try and they try many ways and finally they get to something. You have to remember, when you do istikhara, sometimes Allah is just making an avenue for you to just get closer to Him. That's all it is.
Yeah, well, that's exactly... I'm so glad you brought that up, because sometimes if you want to grow in life, intellectually, spiritually, physically even, you have to undergo pain, and you have to undergo the trials and the hardship that life provides, or the bad hands that you get in life. And sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to experience things so that you can grow and better yourself and have new experiences, because there's only so much wisdom you can gain during happy times, during the good times, and when everything is all right and peachy. You have to go through some pain. And I think even when your istikhara came out positive, or you had a strong inclination towards something, and it ends up going south over time, doesn't necessarily make that decision a bad decision.
You're right. I agree with you 100%, brother.
It's life.
So Ahmed, isn't there like this ayah also in the Quran? We know this test is coming, right? وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Right? الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُم مُّصِيبَةٌ قالوا إن لله وإنا إليه راجعون. I think we talked about this earlier
Yeah.
before too, where He's not telling you if or might or when or how. He's saying for sure
Yeah.
we're going to test you with something.
And now he says,
We are going to,
like a portion of it. Like you haven't seen anything. If like that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, that it's just a hint of it. You're going to get it. So whatever we get in this world, no matter how disastrous it may be, how bad it can get, and how far it can go, it's still a small portion of it, right? But look at the verse. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you know what's amazing about this? But Allah is telling you the cure of what or the answer for what He's sending to in this. That's the rahmah, right? And then الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قال إن لله قالوا إن لله وإنا إليه راجعون.
Yeah.
Right.
Any one of these. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you understand, but I'm just going to give the other verse, and you can pull that together. But it's and then I think the following verse is أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة, right? And then I think it says وأولئك هم المهتدون.
Yes.
Right. So this, in very clear English, it just means, and then those are the ones whom Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is sending His blessings to, and His mercy, and they are the ones who are guided, like they are rightly guided. So it's amazing how Allah first tells you what He's going to do. He's going to test you, tells you how to solve that or how to deal with that test, and then tells you the reward for what that is.
But the beautiful thing, the reason why you mentioned, I think it's perfect timing, is to let you know the relationship. Remember we talked about relationship in the beginning? You have to know the relationship.
Not just between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the dua of istikhara and its direct relationship with things like tawakkul.
Yeah.
Now, I think, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala developed this or gave us this tool of istikhara as a vehicle to build a relationship of tawakkul throughout our lives. Because when you look at the dua and you think about tawakkul, it becomes inconsequential that you're making this dua. Because if you have that relationship with tawakkul and building trust with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and linking every decision of yours to your betterment and the betterment of Islam and society and your family, your progeny, and everything is, has this relationship with Islam and your faith and your being, then isn't that what istikhara is, right? You're building, it's just a vehicle for you to become or making yourself more attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Of course,
and I think it can just only, the implications of that are just so profound, because if you realize how if you go on that logical path of just building that, taking that dua to another level where you're utilizing it in every decision making process, well then what did you do? You're just really made your life completely dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And every decision of yours will just...
Hence, the hadith of Jabir radiallahu anhu, Muhammad sallallahu used to teach it like it was a verse in the Quran. Muhammad sallallahu mission was the Quran. That was his miracle. Now imagine a sahabi saying that he used to teach us istikhara, and also what that hadith also means is to remind us of istikhara, as if it was a verse from the Quran, as if it was Quran, right? So the other thing, Mort, that you mentioned, I think is profound, bro, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions to you that there's these obstacles that are going to occur in your life, but don't look at those the way your mind wants you to look at those obstacles. Because they're just from Allah. Why? Because they realize who they belong to. Inna lillahi. We are the property of Allah. And we have to go back to the maker that made us, right? And then at the end, just to give the believer so much confidence, what does Allah say? أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتٌ مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَرَحْمَةٌ. Upon them are the salawat from Allah, meaning blessings from Allah. Where else do you hear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the angels are sending blessings upon the people? إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ. Right?
Yeah.
So imagine the status, if you're patient and you know that you belong to Allah and you're going back to Him and these tests are only from Allah, then imagine you get that same relationship that Allah had with the Prophet of sending blessings with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then Allah says, salawatun min rabbihim, and then there's rahmah. Why does Allah have to say rahmah? Because when you're in the crux of this punishment, you can never imagine rahmah. You're like, dude, I'm stripped of all mercy in my life. This is the worst situation. I should be doing this. And that's why some people believe that they should jump off a building because the pressure becomes so intense. But Allah is saying this is rahmah. But we can't see the rahmah. It's in the akhirah, the
لا
rahmah.
تقنطوا من رحمة. I mean, this is. I mean, you know, the thing is that everywhere Allah mentions adhab is always somewhere near the ayah you're gonna find His rahmah. He's never gonna let you believe that He is only there for His punishment.
Yeah.
He's always gonna remind you, even from the very beginning, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Even the very Quran that you're reading right now is a rahmah and a mercy and an act of compassion from your Lord, right? Even He reminds you every time, no matter where you go. It's impossible to read the Quran and say Allah does not love you, you know. And this is what's funny to me. Sorry, it's kind of a side subject, but you know, some of the non-Muslims will say, "Oh, Allah doesn't love Muslims. Allah doesn't love anybody. Jesus loves everybody," right? But it's impossible to read the Quran and not feel that this is someone, because what is love? Love is an emotion. Anyone can say I love you, right? I can come and say I love you and then smack you in the face tomorrow, right? It makes no difference. What is love? Love is love. What builds love is the actions towards someone. It demands actions. It's impossible to have love without actions.
Yeah.
Right? The love of a mother, she goes through carrying you. I mean, this is all, you have to develop that love through actions. And that's why even in Islam, it's a deenu mu'amalah. You have to take action. Yeah. It's impossible to be a believer without action. Likewise with love, Allah is not saying, I'm just going to love you. I'm going to send you mercy.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you compassion.
Yep.
I'm the source of that. I'm going to put that in between there.
And rain is a
right.
blessing.
I'm going to reward you.
Yeah.
Right. It's not that, because anyone can say, I love you. You know, oh, I loved you so much. I went on a cross and died for you. What does that do for me? I mean, there's nothing for me. You know what I mean? Like Allah is telling you here that He, I mean, what I'm trying to give it as an example to people listening is that you feel love more when it comes when there's an action behind it, rather than when someone just says it. Because even now, it's been such a token word. I love you, I love you, I love you. It means really nothing, right? But when someone accompanies that with an action that backs it up, that proves that love to you, that's when love really means something. And that's why any emotion goes up and down, right? It's never static. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He keeps giving you love. He keeps giving you that, so that way that love is continued, right? Yeah. People at some days that may feel closer to Sim or closer to Amr, it becomes, we have different actions that make us love, that draw each other closer to human beings. That's the nature of our relationship. That's ghafla. Like our heart is like that, right? From day one, it continually changes. Yeah. But with this, it's continual showering. Yeah. It's rahmah, it's mercy.
Yeah. And it's funny you say showering, right? Because we know that rain is a blessing from Allah, right? And the same, like you're talking about actions, the same verb that He uses for the sending down of verses is anzala, right? Which is the same thing that He uses for rain. That He's literally barraging you with these verses just to let you know, to reassure you how to get through this and how to do this. And Allah didn't have to do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just could have sent Surah Al-Ikhlas and that would be more than enough to guide humanity, right? But then there's verses and themes and telling you and reassuring you, look out for this. You're going to feel this way, but don't trust your feeling. Trust Allah. Right? Yeah. That's what that is.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, that's what that is.
You know, just a side comment. You know what's also amazing about this? We're talking about the Quran, but one of the most amazing things that people don't realize is the blessing. You know, there are very few angels that are allowed to recite the Quran.
Allah.
Angels have not been given the permission. That's why do you think the angels come into the presence of people that mention the Quran, mention Allah, and recite the Quran? What is the reason for that? It's because Allah did not give them permission generally among most of them to recite the Quran. So when the believer recites the Quran, they come and they gather to listen to it because they don't have that ability. Like only very few, maybe I think a few, like obviously Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam is one of them that can recite the Quran.
They have their own roles. Some of them just with tasbih, some of them are in sajda, by the arsh of Allah forever. Some of them are, holding the arsh. They all have their own roles, right? That's what you're
right. And so when we mention the Quran, when we talk about the Quran, they gravitate towards it because it's something they can't do themselves. They're envious of the believers that they can actually recite the Quran and benefit. And just having this conversation alone and be able to recite the ayat of Allah is a mercy in itself that people don't realize.
Subhanallah, man. Yeah, man. But as far as istikhara is concerned, right?
Yeah.
So you're not allowed to do istikhara, obviously, for haram things.
Yes.
Right? You're not allowed to do istikhara because, you want to go somewhere and this, should I do this one, that one? I know people may laugh at it, but some people may actually do that. And doing istikhara for those things that are fard. Ya Allah, should I wake up for Salatul Fajr or not? No, you're not doing istikhara for that. But it may happen, right? People
and protect your life. Don't go to Wuhan, China to get married to a girl.
No, tell her to get tested, and if she's fine, then whatever, No,
I mean, I think what Sim is saying is you also have to apply the common sense Allah has given you, right? I mean, part of tawakkul is taking every preventative measure and then taking the step, like not just jumping into a lake of fire and saying, tawakkul ala Allah, we're going to jump in, right, and be saved. No, we don't do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, speaking about, what's funny though, since Sim just brought, I'm about to about making istikhara for haram things. So many times I've seen Muslims say like, inshallah, bro, I see you there, right? And they're talking about things that are haram, like at the bar, bro. Like, inshallah, I see you there. So I'll be at the spot tonight, inshallah. What are you talking about, bro?
And some of that, unfortunately, just became speech, like
it's cultural, right? Exactly, it's cultural. Wallah, bro, I was at the bar, bro. Wallah, I'm like, why are you saying that, dude? Like, why? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Anyways,
you got to think before we talk, man. Even if it's cultural, it's crazy.
Chat is rocking, guys. People in the chat, if you have any questions for Sheikh Hamar, just bust them out,
or anybody. I mean,
for anyone.
If you want to learn or know doctrines in Hebrew, talk to Mort. He'll just start talking in Hebrew. Mort, by the way, I love that episode, bro. I love that episode, bro. That was, I honestly, dude. Look, I know you're a good researcher. I had no idea you speak Hebrew, bro. I know you out life. Were you surprised by that?
No, I knew that. I knew he had a large
background. But did you know that he's gonna start saying the Shahada?
No, wait, hold on. Let me clarify. I don't want to make it sound. I am in no way, shape, or form some kind of Hebrew expert. I know
you're not.
I know.
I just didn't know you knew the Shahada in Hebrew, bro.
So you know how Mahin studies with pastors, and I study with rabbis, like people, because I think there's a lot more similarities between Judaism and Islam. And I take the approach from the Quran that Bani Israel are the last believing nation before us, and there are definitely certain ibrah, that lessons that we can learn from them. And I see the Quran speaking to me. The way when I talk to them, like about certain understandings they had, I was able to actually even find out that certain, how they. This is going to be a little bit awkward for a moment. Let me just say this, but some of the Jews, majority of the Jews today will say that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam could not have been a prophet because he is not from among us. He is not from the line of David, from Shlomo, from Suleiman, right? He's not from that line, right? It's impossible. But when you go into the deeper writings of the Talmud and other areas like this, and even some of the most famous rabbis' commentaries on the Talmud and the Mishnah Torah, right? You find them, like, for example, Nachmanides and the Rambam, the Moshe, who was like, the one who wrote Igerat Tayman, which is like the epistles to Yemen. He says that it's there will be a time where Hashem or Allah will send a Navim, a prophet, to the Gentiles, the Goyim, and they will be righteous, meaning they will be people that
Gentiles? What are they called, Gentiles?
Goyim.
Like
Goyim means nations. But in this term, it means like it's non-believers for them, like the or non-Jewish for them, because for them, Jewish is a covenant. They believe that I don't want to get too deep in this, but they believe that a part of their soul is from Allah. There's a neshama. This neshama for them they believe there's a nefesh, the self, the ruh, the spirit, and neshama. Neshama is something which is the share with Allah put inside of Adam. Mm-hmm. This neshama, when Allah blew his soul, this is called neshama. And so for them, they share this.
Is that the same thing as what the Christians say with the Holy Spirit, or no?
No, the Holy Spirit's different. Holy Spirit is actually a part of the Trinity. It's a divine thing. God the Spirit, God the Son, God the Father.
I thought
right? It's a little bit.
I thought the Holy Spirit was in Jesus. I don't know. It's so confusing.
Well, the Holy Spirit can also be the Comforter, which is an entirely different subject.
Yeah.
I don't want to. To me, honestly, I hate to apologize to all my Christian friends and who are listening to this thing, but the Trinity never will make sense to me. It's honestly at the core to me. It's very pagan.
I don't think it makes sense for them either.
No,
and
if they're honest, it's not going to make sense to them either.
Yeah, I mean, so this is why I have a gravitation towards Judaism, because the concept of La ilaha illallah and is identical. It's 100 I mean, think about this. They use the word ikhad and we use the word ahad. How Allah describes in the Quran and in the Torah
Yeah.
are exactly identical.
Yeah, and just let me make a clarification, guys. Somebody came to me and said, "Why is Mort promoting Judaism?" Mort, let me finish. This is what Mort is saying. He's saying that when he studies Judaism, it increases his iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in Islam. He's not researching it just to say, "Oh my God, Judaism so amazing." That's not what Mort is saying. So please don't be confused with that. I know it was only a few people that.
Yeah, let me clarify why I say Judaism, because there is a remember the half of the Quran is about Bani Israel.
Yeah.
And why is that? Why did Allah tell Muslims today half of the Quran is about Bani Israel? Because we learn lessons from them.
Yeah.
Right? We understand where they went wrong.
Yeah.
And in my doing this, it actually confirms my iman, because I'm able to find things like, for example, when they called Uzair Ibn Allah, the son of Allah. You ask a common Jew today, it's unheard of. They say, oh, this is where the Quran is wrong. Right? But by researching, by talking to people, to Orthodox rabbis, seeing this, you're able to find certain sects among the Yemenites who actually believe that. They believe it's the son of God, but metaphorical, but could have been taken different later on. There's actually archaeological evidence for this. The point being is that this furthers my conviction and my yaqeen in the Quran that it is divine.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
That it is something. And by the way, I'm of the opinion that this could be controversial for some people. I don't believe the Torah is corrupt. I believe that the understanding of the rabbis is corrupt of the Torah. Why? Because the Quran says, "Ittakhadhu ahbarahum wa ruhbanahum arbaban min dunillah." How did they become lords besides Allah? Because they made things haram and halal. What Allah did not do. Even in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, about stoning and rajam, he would tell them, "Why do you cover this? Why did you change the laws?" Right? He would tell them openly. Right? So does that mean? Wait. So when I say the Torah is uncorrupted, does that mean I have power of Torah? No, because I believe that it's mansukh, meaning the Quran is here. No matter what is mansukh, even if it's 100% correct.
The Torah is
right?
abrogated.
Do you feel the same way with the Injil as well? Because that's what
No,
Dr. Ali Atai.
Absolutely not.
So
Absolutely
you disagree
not.
with Dr. Ali Atai's.
I mean, there's some truth and maybe in it, but I think for the most part, it's babble. I mean, I honestly, for the most part, it's something that is not. I mean, it's totally unreliable to me. It's completely the writing style is different. There's textual criticism. There's so much you can get into about the Bible. Even biblical scholars themselves will tell you that there are added portions of the Bible, lines that were added, things like this. And for me, it becomes almost impossible to take seriously. In all honesty, it does. I'm sure there's wisdom in it. I'm not denying that. I believe there were men of God who had wisdom, and there were monks, because remember, they studied these scriptures and they reflected upon them, and they perhaps maybe this was their tafsir or whatever it may have been, but they shed some wisdom. Don't get me wrong, I respect them, especially the Orthodox community of the Christians, like the very Orthodox, not the Protestants and Lutherans. But I feel like there's a lot that is relying on speculation and on the works of men who were scholars, and not on the actual text itself. And unfortunately, the works, the words of men have taken precedence over the scripture itself.
And I know we're running out of time. Mort, I don't mean to change the subject completely, but I'm going to do it anyway. For the last few minutes that we have, you were giving us the flag that we have a few minutes left, right?
Yeah.
Can we help for the next 2 to 3 minutes just make sense of Turkey, Syria, and what's happening in Turkey, Syria?
Yeah, so there are some escalating issues that are happening with regards to how much Turkey is bombing the Syrian regime. For those who don't know, Turkey officially supports the resistance, the Syrian rebels who are fighting against the Syrian government, Bashar al-Assad, right? Now, what does this mean, and how do we contextualize the escalating tensions within Syria? As we all know, the Syrian war has not ended. It's still continuing for many years. And what we need to understand at the base and at the inherent program or policy regarding Syria is that it's a controlled conflict. Now, what does that mean, a controlled conflict? The powers that be, that Russia, the United States, NATO, etc., they want to manage this conflict so that it doesn't overtake, because the United States doesn't have their guy. They don't have a reliable partner on the Syrian side. they have the Syrian Democratic Coalition or whatever, but they're not very powerful. They're not a very strong resistance partner. So what the United States has done is that, well, when you can't make a decision, what we do is we make no decision and we just manage the conflict. So what they do is now they manage all the various resistance factions within Syria by giving them just enough weapons so that they can capture a certain area in Syria. And they manage the power structure that in that way until a better option comes. Now, where does Turkey come into this? Turkey's a part of NATO. They're not going to go cowboy and start taking on the Syrian government. Okay, it's not going to escalate to a regional warfare between the Syrian government and Turkey. And if that was the case, Turkey would smash them completely and obliterate the Syrian government, because the Syrian government sucks. They just don't have enough weaponry to fight against Turkey. How do you understand the escalating tension between Turkey and Syria? Is that Turkey's just sending them a message that, hey, don't mess with us, don't bleep with us. We're going to you kill our soldiers, we're going to kill 1,000 of yours, you know? Similarly to what the United States does, when it's always the bigger power shows to the little power that, hey, you kill any of our soldiers, we're going to kill 100 of yours or 1,000 of yours. Similar to what the Israelis do to the Palestinians, you know? They really just send a message, really letting them know that we're the ones who are more powerful than you. You want to go after us after we kill 1,000 of yours? Then we will. They would really have understood that message by then. But if Bashar al-Assad is incredibly stupid, he would retaliate even more. Then you could probably have a really...
or if he's counting on Russia getting involved.
Yeah, but the problem is, Russia would have to green light him and say, like, hey, you want to go and mess with Turkey? We're going to back out. Like, we're not going to be on your side. You know, we're not going to be part of your posse.
So message well taken. Sorry to cut you off again. So someone could say, well, if that's the case, why can't America just stop the war at all?
They don't want to stop the war because
America doesn't want to be involved right now because it's in their interest right now to have them fighting each other.
You have to understand the military-industrial complex and how it operates within each of these countries is that they're always managing what we were talking about earlier is fear, right? They want to make sure that people within these parties, they have an inherent thing to worry about. They're not necessarily interested in, even if they do have peace, that it's not a very lasting peace. It's not a very concrete.
Conflict is needed, but it needs to be managed.
It's managed, and that everyone is selling product. Okay.
Product here is weapons.
Product is weapons. They're selling their weapons through the CIA, through Qatar, and all the various partners in their regions. That even if it's not official, they're selling their weapons through Qatar, or the CIA is sending it through.
So a lot of these interventions aren't because of moral reasons; they're because of sale.
No, they don't care about morals. It's all about money. Yeah. Okay.
Look, as much as I love Turkey, if Turkey was moral, they wouldn't have made the comments on what happened when it was happening to the Uyghur Muslims, right?
Yeah.
If it was a moral conscience, let's be honest here, right? Countries act in their own interest. If it so happens to align with some kind of moral principle, they will ride that coattail and include that within their argument. But in reality, the main objective is always, what does my country or my people benefit from this?
These are the inherent principles what we've been talking about for a long time, listeners. Inherent principles of capitalism. Self-interest is the highest form of it's the tip of the pyramid. Everything else comes later, So if you happen to benefit from me benefiting, that's great. I'm glad that you benefited. And I might even pat myself on the shoulder for making such a great decision that benefited myself and you. But inherently, this is why we as Muslims, when we make anything good, we do anything that is beneficial, we always reaffirm our intention, and that we make sure that we do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That's a great point, dude.
Yeah, that's the first one. That's the first hadith Qudsi, right?
Yes.
إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّةِ. So your intention cannot be split between things.
I was talking to my daughter, Rumesa, when the other, actually, Amr Sheikh Hammer was over the other night, and just before you came, Sheikh, I was talking to her about how there's so many different kind people on Earth, and their just natural proclivity towards being kind, makes them more conducive to do good work, and that they have an advantage over that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, you have to understand, because she's a very warm-hearted girl. I'm like, you have to understand, you don't do things out of your own kindness. Okay, there's many things that can be done out of your own kindness, and you have to understand that your kindness is attached to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires from you. Okay, there's many things that you could do that are kind and generous acts, but you have to make sure that even your kindness, this trait that is built within you, and it's been gifted to you because she's very kind, you attach that to, you affix it to your what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is requiring from you, so that it's not just counted on, in the weights and however Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala measures us in our acts of kindness, that it wasn't just something that was built into us, and it wasn't done for the sake of
mere play.
Mere play, or the way things
play
out.
It's not,
right. Why is it? Why you ever think about why is it? Don't people who are born in two different situations, one has a characteristic of just being born as a kind person, one is not.
Yeah.
Doesn't that person have a much bigger advantage than that person who was born, who wasn't as kind? Maybe he was just a regular person who does some random acts of kindness, can be a jerk at other times, but that other person who was born kind, doesn't that person have an advantage being born in that way?
It's deep, bro.
That's why. That's what made me think about, well, why is that person going to have an advantage? I don't think that person who was born kind will have an advantage. I think if that person who was born kind and acts according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is requiring of them, and compared to the other person B, who does some good things, does some bad things, but what the good things that he's done is in accordance to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires of him, that's how I think it would be a more logical way of measuring kindness, at least.
What speaking about this, was someone told me this a long time ago. I forgot who it was, some of my family or someone, but they were talking about rahmah and this concept of how it should be attached to what Allah wants. I mean, to what he has decreed. And he gave me an example. He says, Allah is, look at your mother. Allah is the most loving and merciful, right? And so he gives you a mother. And there's no love like the love of a mother, right? And no one can deny that, right? But sometimes a mother will love her children so much that she doesn't have the heart to wake them up for Salatul Fajr because they're sleeping.
It's a great
At that point in time is when that love although it's from Allah and it's a good thing, but it takes precedence over, it took precedence over what Allah had
untamed
decreed.
Love.
Right. And so what happens is that's when you have to check it and say, is this love? Is this kindness? Is it falling in line with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed? What's permissible and what's impermissible?
The amount of food we give our kids, we want to keep giving them every kind of food imaginable. If it was, food is so cheap, dude, especially unhealthy food. And when they want some candy or
I know,
just fattening things,
you
want to give them it's a few bucks.
Popcorn.
You don't care. It's nothing. But you want to make sure that
a buck here, $2 here, but you're thinking hey, is it good for them? Is it something that Allah entrusted me with children? Am I making good on that promise?
Morty, I can't tell you how many parents my daughter tells me about during Ramadan that other kids in their school aren't allowed to fast. These are high schoolers and eighth graders that are in junior high, what's called primary school abroad. And these kids aren't allowed to fast by their Muslim parents. Forget about the government, man. Forget about
do you remember growing up? Do you remember if you didn't fast, dude, we would get ass whooping. You had you had to be dying. I remember my mom was like, you better make sure you're throwing up more than a palmful. You better make sure there's more. If you're not, then you are getting whooped. Right? There's no way we could avoid it. I'm like, Mom, I gotta do gym class. Who cares? I'm like, Sahaba for Battle of Badr. Khandak in Ramadan. What are you doing? I'm like, man.
So there's a level, and so a subject for another podcast a level of poisonous compassion that is happening around.
compassion.
Yeah,
Ooh, I like
it's
that. Poisonous
no,
compassion.
Actually, a better word would be toxic compassion. There's a toxicity in compassion that's prevailing the world, and I think some of our even leaders within the Muslim world, we're talking about the scholarship community as well, are really, this one person the other day was talking about. They were telling me about this a nikah contract being made where they would have a stipulation that this is some major scholar who said that you could put a stipulation to divorce your husband if he gets another wife. And I'm like, wait a second. How does this work in the Sharia? Because I'm not a scholar, but I know a little bit. Just to navigate my way around it. And I was talking to other people about like how they play these word games where it's essentially you would be requesting a khula, but in order to appease this feminist mindset, these type of girls who wanted to hear something that the Sharia would guarantee their man is monogamous, that they would do this, So I was just like, I'm like, oh really? Okay, so you made a stipulation completely on your own just to make this crowd happy with having a monogamous husband, essentially. You know what I'm saying? You kind of played a game in the nikah contract so that you could just make a certain group of individuals happy. This is the level of toxic compassion. You didn't want to let them down.
Oh, I see your point now. Yeah.
You didn't want to let these girls down, and you said, "Hey, you know what? In order to make your man, how about you just be a good wife, and so that your man doesn't necessarily want to go out and marry a second wife. You tell him
doesn't
like,
mean
hey,
you did anything wrong if you want a second wife either.
yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's this level of catering to people's needs that is way beyond what the Sharia would probably allow, right?
I mean, you know what this reminds me of? That verse in the Quran. وآمنوا بما أنزلت مصدقا لما معكم ولا تكونوا أول كافر به لا تشتروا بآياتي ثمنا قليلا وإياي فاتقون. It says, do basically and believe what I sent down, and it was confirming already what was before us, but this is the most important part. And it says, do not be the first to disbelieve in it, and do not sell or do not exchange my ayat, meaning the verses or these laws or what I've sent to you for a small price.
Allah.
And this is something so small, right? Like just to get a few more likes on Facebook, to get some feminazi organization to be like, hey, you're cool in my book. Let's just give you a stamp of approval because you want to let people get divorced. Like, I mean, how petty is this?
Yeah.
Can you imagine like people would hold on to the rope of Allah and hold on to these ayat like to the death. They would jump into boiling water, like pots of oil. Remember Abdullah bin Hagaf? They jumped into pots of oil for things. And you're wanting to appeal.
That same crowd, Morty, would say that person who jumped in that pot of oil was, they had mental issues, mental health issues. They probably didn't understand the sanctity of
toxic
life.
masculinity.
They didn't
that's why
the sanctity of life takes precedence. They didn't understand how much they could benefit the rest of humanity by preserving their life and sending someone else in there instead. So these are
I know.
There's some levels of toxic compassion.
I mean, this is. I think this would be a good topic for a different podcast about how,
Plus,
this mentality has come about.
Yes.
Like how this mentality that somehow we know better than what the Quran is, and they use. By the way they get around it, they use the facade of saying, "Well, this is our interpretation of the ayah. We don't disagree with the Quran." But this is our interpretation. The old mufassirin are not exactly right about it, and I think that's a sneaky little coy to try to reinvent or reorganize or recategorize the Quran. Like they try to do this, right? Remember they tried to come out with the Quran in Cairo and Egypt about the abridged Quran with removed verses and stuff like this, right? Like a what was a feminist friendly Quran, but it never went nowhere. Everybody was like, we're never going to touch this. Like you remove something, you're a fraud. We don't like you.
Morty, we can keep going forever on this topic because I think there's a whole a whole
Yeah,
podcast that needs to be dedicated on this
let's do
issue.
toxic compassion or drunken compassion next week.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And let's try to think
Pseudo
of it.
compassion.
If you guys have a guest that
Intoxicated
would
on
probably be
compassion.
good to talk about this subject, leave it in the comment section below. We'll try to reach out to
hold
them.
on.
And
Stop.
what? Yes.
Dude, we totally forgot to tell them about this hype new episode that's coming out. I mean, it's going to be coming soon. We have to tell them.
No, we can't tell them because he hasn't confirmed yet.
But
He hasn't
he's going
confirmed.
to.
Inshallah.
No, just
But
don't say anything yet. We'll drop it
regarding
soon,
a new
inshallah.
show on Netflix, and we might have.
Okay, so how about let's just give it to you. We won't say the show, but
Yeah.
we'll say something. Let me do this, okay?
Okay, you play the word game.
Listen up, guys. This is important, guys. Listen up, all you Mamlukers out there. There's a popular series on Netflix right now, trending. And we are going to get the person who was behind that series to talk about his experience. And it's going to be phenomenal. I can't say what yet. I really want to. I have a big mouth. I have no filter. But I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you
They're
who it
probably
is.
figuring it out
But
soon,
it's going to be amazing. It's going to be
Inshallah.
awesome. It's a
As
long
soon
time
as-
coming. It's
Yeah.
something that has been bothering us for a long, long time. I mean, I think each one of us have probably, me and Sim have talked about this numerous times.
Yeah.
And it's something that is been it's a plague. I mean, among us, and I think it's good that it's going to come up. But I can't say more I can't talk more about it without exposing anything. So
He's not talking
All right.
about Mr.
pay attention.
Escobar.
If you haven't hit the bell yet on this
He's
podcast,
of course talking about
hit
Narcos
it
and El
now.
Chapo.
Hit it now. Hit the bell now.
We got El Chapo coming in from Culiacan
El Chapo
prison. I don't know
Wapo.
where his
Narcos, baby. No,
All right, guys.
no Cali cartel. No,
we
not
gotta
that
go.
one.
We
No,
gotta go,
but-
Morty. Guys, we'll see you all next time. Make sure you like, subscribe, and help us out on patreon.com/themadmamluks. Alternatively, you can go to themadmamluks.com/donate and help us out on PayPal. Make sure you leave a comment if you have anything else to say about the show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you all next time. Assalamu alaikum.